It's real breakfast hours. Eat breakfast if you up.
Today's breakfast is... We went to Aroma Joe's, so I had a Blue Hawaiian Rush, a glazed chocolate donut, and some hash brown bites.
I forgot to take a picture of my breakfast. I'm a goon, I know. I set it all out in front of me to take a picture, and I just didn't. But I also had a chocolate donut, the same one as hers, and I had a sausage egg sandwich and cheese.
Welcome back.
I don't know how to do it, but 11.
Yeah.
Number 11.
Had all week to figure it out, and he still didn't.
I didn't even think about it. Oof.
Number 11, that's really exciting. We have 89 subscribers now, guys.
We're almost to 100.
Almost to 100.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Tell your mom.
Tell your mom.
Tell your mom's friends.
Yeah, spread it around. One more and we'll be at 90, and then we just need 10 more. So, I mean, that's quick maths, right?
Quick maths. 100 is like the first milestone.
That's the first. I mean, 50 was kind of, but I think I already had that before we started. So, now 100 is the first big milestone.
For real breakfast hours.
For real breakfast hours, and my channel, which I am hoping... summer soon. I'd like to do some maybe vlogs over the summer or something.
Some outdoor content, perhaps.
Maybe some outdoor content. I know, like, last year or maybe even the year before, I had made an Instagram post or an Instagram story post asking my friends, like, what kind of videos they'd like to see, and pretty much everyone said vlogs. And I was like, guys, you are severely overestimating how interesting my life is.
You're pretty cool, though.
I am cool, but I was like, oh, what am I gonna even, like, put in a vlog? But...
Today I went to the grocery store.
Yeah, and I honestly want to do one that's like maybe like a week in my life as a med student, because I don't know. But the thing is, I feel deeply uncomfortable like filming anything in class, and I also think that might not be allowed probably.
Don't do that.
So I think it would have to be like maybe in between classes and like just talking about what I did in class rather than actual footage from class. I don't know if anyone's interested in that, but if you are, definitely comment down below and let me know or message me.
You could always record after class is over.
Yeah.
Just, this is my classroom. And then, go to the library and stuff. Just, this is what my campus looks like.
Yeah, because I do think you gotta find those niches on YouTube. And I think lots of people that want to become doctors or are just interested in, like, medicine and stuff want to know what it's like to be a med student. So I think it could be really popular and a good idea. But I'm just very nervous about filming.
Well, before you started school, you were looking at YouTube videos of those exact things.
Yeah.
Of what life is like, how are ways to be prepared. So you could use your platform to provide answers to those questions that you had.
Yeah. So maybe I'll do that. It is hard with how little time I have. Next year I should have more time. And over the summer, I think I'd like to make some content about what my first year was like and some, like, tips and tricks and stuff. So maybe be on the lookout for that because I probably won't be doing much else over the summer break.
The number one tip and or trick is have a significant other that you can vent to.
Have someone that you can vent to. Yeah, definitely.
I'm like a hostage.
Yeah, a little bit.
Not that I mind. It's okay.
So, do we have some submissions for today?
Yes. So, obviously, the Chad Mad Lad Crollo sent another one. He sent a picture and he said, and I quote, "I don't know what kind of pastry this is, but it's close to a concha, I guess, and a churro. With milk, of course." And then he sent some weird pastry, a churro, and some milk.
I love churros. Can we get churros sometime?
Sure. And then I remember
get them.
Last time he sent one of those pastries and he roasted me because I didn't put any effort into saying the word. I believe I said concha last time, like a C, conch.
Yeah.
I believe the correct way to say it is like concha because it's Hispanic.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's entirely right. I'm sure I'll get flamed again for saying it wrong because I don't eat conchas for breakfast.
Yeah, speaking of languages and things, I've been on that Duolingo grind set.
I got one more too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You can tell us all about Duolingo after the submissions.
Okay.
Austin, another returning submission. He, quote, made a buttload of breakfast sandwiches.
Does look like a buttload.
They don't look pretty though, he said, but I don't know. Those look pretty good. Just because the egg spills over the side a little bit, it's not a bad thing. I see the hot sauce in the background.
The best part.
Yeah, right? I mean, you like a little spillover, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Those look great.
I know a lot of people will like meal prep breakfast sandwiches, which I think is a good idea. I really want to get into meal prepping, but there's so little time on the weekends to do things that then I just don't want to do it. But then having to make dinner every night is hard sometimes, so...
Well, you gotta think, do I want time on Saturday? Or do I want time after school on a Tuesday?
Realistically, I want both, but I cannot have it. So, and then, this is not so much of a breakfast submission, but I guess it counts. My mom made bran muffins, I think she said. She's gotta be on, like, a high-fiber diet, so that's why she made some of those. Let's see how she described them. Yeah, bran muffins for her high-fiber breakfast, so they actually look kind of good.
And that definitely counts. You said, I don't know if it counts. She said it's for breakfast.
I guess, yeah, it is for breakfast, so nice going, Mom. Maybe I'll try one sometime.
Submit your breakfast, everybody.
Yeah.
I want to see more. I appreciate the returning submissions, but I would like to see some new faces.
Or, once again, I feel like my friends are always on the low end of submitting their breakfast.
I have the same, 3 or 4 guys who submit their breakfast every week.
Yeah.
Carlo doesn't miss a real breakfast hours.
Yeah.
He's
the real breakfast hour's strongest soldier.
true. Yeah, literally. If anybody ever gets a real breakfast hours t-shirt, it's got to be him.
And your grandma.
And yes, well, both my grandmas watch this show.
Yeah. But also the Duolingo thing. So I've been on that grind set for Duolingo, and I keep bothering him that he should get on Duolingo, and maybe then you learn how to properly say concha. Sorry if that's not right. I'm taking French, not Spanish, and also like Swedish and German and Finnish.
I took a bunch of Spanish in school. A lot of people they don't start a foreign language until like high school. I went to Catholic school until like 5th grade. And they had us taking Spanish in like 2nd or 3rd grade, and then I took it all the way up through high school. So by the time I was done, what are you taking a picture of? The cat?
Yeah, keep talking.
He's sipping over there. But yeah, I took like 8 years of Spanish or something like that. By the time high school was over, I felt really good about it, and that maybe if I went to Spain or something, they say you can't become fluent unless you really immerse yourself in it. Like, you can be advanced in something, but you'll never become fluent until you live there. I was, like, right there by the time I was done with school. But then it's been years, and I haven't had a class since, so
yeah,
my Spanish is nowhere near as good as it used to be.
But, like, that's what I'm saying. If you just did, like, a few lessons of Duolingo a day, I'm sure it would come...
Snap back to reality.
It would come back to you quickly, I think. Because, yeah. Although... Now that I'm far enough along in French that there's some stuff that I genuinely, like, didn't know before. Because my family's French-Canadian. So I did already kind of know some of the, like, terms and things. But now there's stuff that I'm like, oh, or, like, conjugation kind of stuff, or, like, which ending you put on it, depending if you're saying you have this, or, like, they are doing this, or, like, she... versus like I, like some of them ends with an E, some ends with an S, is like all that sort of stuff.
I always thought that stuff was fairly easy. The stuff that that's the stuff that I still know and I still have, but the vocabulary is hard. Like I don't remember how to say things like paper towel, when at one point I did.
Right. But I just mean like, I think in a very common, like typical class of a language, you get that kind of drilled into your head, the conjugation and like specific grammar of it, I guess. Like you get that stuff a lot. Versus on Duolingo, it's kind of like
vocab all the time.
It's a lot of vocab and like you're putting sentences together, but it's not a lot of this is the chart of like how this works. And like some of the things are different. So it's a little bit trickier that I'm not getting this is how you do this like as much as you would in a normal class, which is I think why I struggle with it still. But I don't know, I guess it is kind of nice and probably easier to get into the conversational type stuff if you're just going into like the vocab and sentence structure things, like how it does. And not all the languages have this, I don't think, but like French, I've been mostly doing French the past 2 weeks. They have these stories, and I think those are really helpful because it's kind of like if you think about when you're a little kid learning a language or like you read books, right? Mm-hmm. So like reading a story, I feel like is really helpful to learn it, and it's kind of more entertaining for me.
I wonder how effective Duolingo is at actually teaching you a language, because I know you're probably on the beginner level and stuff, and there's probably levels to it, and when you get to the higher stuff, it's maybe more what I'm accustomed to. But by the time I was a senior in high school, I was in like Spanish 4. The teacher would come in and she would only speak Spanish the entire time we were in class, and all of our papers were in Spanish, and all of our books were in Spanish, and like you would have to do essays and stuff all in Spanish. Nothing was in English, so I would like read books, write paragraphs, write essays, all in Spanish. So that is obviously like advanced learning of a language. So I don't know how you could do something like that on Duolingo.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still in just like the beginner part, but we'll see, I guess, if I get that far. I kind of Duolingo is one of those things that every so often I get into a kick on it for like maybe a few weeks, and then I drop the ball on it, and then like the next year it happens again. Kind of like when I play The Sims, like I'll like binge playing The Sims for a little bit, and then I don't play it again for like 2 years.
It's like Minecraft. We'll play Minecraft for a month, and then it'll drop off my radar, and then next year I'll come back and play Minecraft again.
Yeah, so it's
Might be that time soon.
But I don't know. I'm kind of liking having the streak and stuff, and I think some of the things that they added is nice. Although I don't like how long it takes to like if you wait for hearts, if you don't have the paid version where you get unlimited hearts, and so you can mess up as many times as you want or need, and still be able to keep going. You only get like 5 hearts normally, and it takes 4 hours for a new heart to regenerate. I'm like,
Sheesh.
what? So,
yeah, they kind of get in their own way on purpose, so you spend money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there kind of needs to be consequences to doing something wrong. It's not like... It's like if you're playing trivia, and maybe there's multiple choice, and you answer A. Oh, that's not right. Oh, well, then maybe it's C. Well, that's not right. Oh, well, then it must be B. Oh, you're right. You didn't know it at that point. You didn't really learn that necessarily.
Yeah.
And maybe you did learn it in some way, but it's definitely less, in my opinion, less effective of a teaching method than there being the consequence of you having gotten it wrong.
Yeah, that's why I'm almost, the like unlimited hearts to me almost feels like then I wouldn't learn as good because you don't really have the consequence of making a mistake. But on the other hand, like it is kind of annoying when you're kind of getting into the groove of it and you want to keep learning and then you run out of hearts. So I feel like there's got to be some sort of middle ground or something. I don't know what it would be, but yeah, I get what you're saying. We put a mat, like a computer pad or a mouse pad under the microphone, so hopefully that helps with like not jostling the table too much and the mic picking up on it.
Hopefully it's absorbing it a little.
I don't know if it actually will.
Transfer into the microphone.
But we will definitely see how that works. I had an idea. You guys will have to let us know what you think. But I was like, we have all this white space behind us, like on the wall right here, which is not a ton, but like it's a little bit. I think it would be fun to either have like pictures of people's breakfast or some like real breakfast hours decor kind of stuff. So I don't know if anyone wants to send fan art.
Oh,
real breakfast hours fan art. That'd be funny. Or I'll just start printing out pictures of people's breakfast so we can make a collage. I think that'd be fun.
Print out Crollo's concha.
Yeah, it'll be immortalized on the wall.
That would be funny.
I mean, let us know what you guys think, but I think that would be good. Also, this week I updated my banner on YouTube. If you've noticed, I mean, I posted about it because I was pretty proud of it. I just did it on Canva, but it says, like, my name and the name of the channel, which is my name, and it says, like, new Real Breakfast Hours on Sundays. So, it's very good.
Tune in.
Tune in. You're hopefully tuning in right now.
You must be up.
You must be up.
Hopefully you're eating breakfast.
What we do today so far?
Well, so this morning I set an alarm for 9:30. Well, we could talk about what we did yesterday first.
Okay.
So yesterday, or rather, this past week on Wednesday was my last day at my previous place of employment because I got a new job which I'll be starting on Monday. So Thursday, Friday, I didn't have any work. Yay. Friday she gets home from school and I'm like, or I think I told you on Thursday or previously in the week, but basically I told her, hey, I want to go out to dinner and see a movie. So she comes home, she takes a shower, she gets dressed, she looked very cute. And we went to get some sushi, which I took a picture of. Maybe we can drop that in here. It's actually not a picture of all the sushi that we got because they forgot one of our rolls and it came in, a minute or two later. So it's not in a picture. So we got even more sushi than what was pictured.
Yeah.
And we shared it, and I got some sake, which I very much enjoy. I drink it hot and cold. I like sake. It's good.
I do not like sake, but that's okay.
That's
He still makes me try it
I'm
every
like,
time.
here, have a
And
little.
every time I hate it.
I just like, and I'm like, nah. But, so we had sushi, and then after we had our sushi, which was very good,
It was very good.
we went and we saw the Mario movie, which was also very good.
Oh yeah. Bowser was the best part.
But the movie was probably like an 8 out of 10. It was, in my brief description of it, it was shallow, which I think is what most people will complain about. But how deep do you need the Mario movie to be? I don't need 35 minutes in Mario's emotional backstory. I don't need to know Peach's internal turmoil, and I certainly don't need to know why Bowser is like so big or something.
Yeah.
Everything you need to know about the characters is present in the movie. You see Mario's parents. You see where Mario grew up. You get a like 5-minute backstory on how Peach, a human, is in the Mushroom Kingdom, and you learn plenty about Bowser. You don't hear why he's so big, but you know he's King of the Koopas, and he's also Jack Black, who, when the movie was announced, you know, years ago, 1 or 2 years ago, probably, might have been 3. Everybody was laughing when they were announcing the voice casts. They were like, Chris Pratt is Mario, and everybody was...
He's so cool.
He's so cool. Literally, they said, we're going to have Chris Pratt as Mario. Wow. He's so cool.
He's so cool.
Nobody liked that because they were like, oh no, it's a me, Mario. Like, the dude from Guardians of the Galaxy and Parks and Rec is gonna be Mario. Is he gonna do the Italian accent? He didn't just talk like Chris Pratt. He spoke
He actually did pretty
accent.
good.
Yeah, it was a good job, but way better than I thought. I thought the movie was gonna be good, and then for some reason Chris Pratt was gonna be there. It wasn't like that. He was Mario, which was good. He even does at the beginning of the movie. Him and Luigi speak briefly in that like super Italian accent. But then they like say they were just doing that voice for a little while and they don't actually talk that way. So it was like addressed in a way that was fine so that Chris Pratt doesn't have to talk like this for the whole movie, even though he does for like 10 seconds. So that's good. You get the little backstory in Mario and Luigi. You get their personalities right away. You don't need more. So like it's not some think piece. It's a Mario movie.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun. And Jack Black steals the show on Bowser. Oh my goodness, he's so good. I love Bowser. I have my keys aren't on me; they're over there. But I have a little Bowser on my keychain. He's one of my favorite characters in anything. And I love metal. I like Tenacious D. I love Jack Black. He was the perfect casting choice for Bowser.
Yeah.
He did so good.
It was pretty fun. Like, all the scenes with him were really funny, and sometimes we were just like looking at each other like, oh my god.
Yeah, like I can't believe he's doing this right now. Because Bowser is a weird character. He's a good character because he's a big dragon and he rules the kingdom and he breathes fire and he wants to destroy things and kidnap people and all that stuff, right? He's intimidating, he's menacing, he's very cool. At the same time, he is the guy that dresses in the white suit and really like is madly in love with Princess Peach even though she doesn't like him, and he's a big old goofball. He, in one of the Paper Mario games, he, and I quote, claims to be the Sultan of Suave because he's like a heartbreaker and, you know, he's gonna sweep the princess off her feet even though she doesn't like him and stuff. So he's like a loser goofball and he's funny, but he's also this like really intimidating dragon. And Jack Black hits both things right on the head.
Yeah.
It's great.
I really wish that Peach would give him a chance. That was really fun. It was a good night we had last night.
And what we do this morning?
Well, this morning you had to get a haircut,
I did.
but
I was looking shaggy.
we went and they were like, give us an hour. So then we decided to go to the mall for a little bit. We didn't buy anything there, but there was a lot of stuff I wanted to buy. It's just I don't got that much money because I'm living on student loans. So, and then we also had went to the Warhammer store. We've talked about Warhammer a little bit. There was a book that he wanted to get, and I guess they have like monthly free ones.
Yes.
Minis.
Every month sorry, I just bumped my phone on the table. We went to the Warhammer store because every month they get a shipment, and this is at, you know, any participating Warhammer store. The one that we have is literally called Warhammer.
Yeah.
There are some that are like Games Workshop, which is their parent, their company is Games Workshop, and Warhammer is just their like flagship product. And there are other like game stores that are not Games Workshop, but they, you know, Dungeons and Dragons, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, Warhammer, they have that type of stuff. They might sell the Warhammer products, but they are not necessarily a Warhammer store. By any participating Warhammer store, once a month, at the beginning of the month, they will get a shipment of free miniatures. Little guys like. A couple months ago, I painted this little guy. You have to assemble him, and you have to paint him by hand. I don't have like an airbrush or anything like that, and you know, maybe we'll get a better picture so you guys can get a better look at him. But you know, not very big, but I think he came out really well. Michaela has assembled a couple of them. I think she painted one. You had.
I painted two, but the second one didn't come out how I wanted because I was doing too much at once and I got frustrated.
Yes, and then there's like a couple of bigger ones. Like this guy's a captain.
He looks pretty cool.
He's bigger. I put this guy together. I haven't painted him yet. And, you know, I have a handful of other ones. But at the start of the month, they get a shipment of, if you come in and buy something, they'll throw in a free mini. Sometimes they assemble them for you. This guy, he's like one dude who works there. And he runs a little 7-Eleven, smaller than a 7-Eleven size store. And he's like, all right, look, technically maybe I should have assembled this for you, but they sent me like 100 of these things. So it's just, you know, parts. And you take these little parts and you glue them together. And then after they're glued together, you paint them. I think if you wanted to be real special about it, you could paint them beforehand. Though most of the tutorials I watched had people painting them afterward. I think if you have Gundams or something, usually you paint those parts individually. But not these. I think you bought one too, right?
Yep. So there's like Sisters of Battle.
Yeah.
There's some female characters in them, and of course I like those. We like the girls here.
Yeah, the Marines are all guys.
Yeah.
And they're like the main. Like if you close your eyes and picture Warhammer 40k, you're picturing Space Marines probably. Those guys are all boys, but they do have girls.
So I got the Dialogus, or Dialogus, I don't know how you would pronounce it, but she's part of the Adepta Sororitas. She looks really cool. She's got a bunch of scrolls and things, and like a book behind her. I like the ones that have a lot of extra pieces, because I think it's more interesting to look at, and it just looks cooler. And I like the Sisters of Battle and all that stuff, so...
The Sisters of Battle are cool. They're like, imagine Catholic nuns in outer space with guns and armor.
Yeah.
That's what an Adeptus Sororitas
Nuns with
is.
guns.
Nuns with guns.
So, I like them. I have another one that I put together, or at least mostly I put it together, but I haven't painted yet. When I'm putting them together, some of it, like, I'll paint when it's all together, but there's some pieces that I just feel like would be harder to paint if it was already in, and I want to make sure it looks good, so I keep them separate and I paint it separate. But like generally you can kind of paint them all together, but with the smaller pieces sometimes I like to paint it separate first.
Yes. And you can play, you're supposed to play a tabletop game with these guys. We don't have nearly enough of those to do that. Not that I necessarily want to, maybe eventually, but not right now. We're not there yet.
Yeah, it's kind of too much, I think.
Yeah, I want to collect a handful of them because they're cool looking and it's fun to paint them. But I've been reading the books that also come out. They tell you like the story and such. I've gone over this before. Since July, I've probably read like a dozen of these books. And the newest one that I just bought is called The End and the Death, Volume 1. It was going to be one book, but Dan Abnett, the author, loved that guy. He's great. It was too big. He had to cut it in half. So this is only half of the story he wants to write. So it's going to be big. I'm very excited to read this. I've been looking forward to it for months. It just came out, and I'm all caught up, at least. The books are broken into like events. The main event is called the Horus Heresy, and there's like 35, 40 books of the Horus Heresy specifically. I've read, 6 or 7 of those. because a lot of them happen at the same time, just following different characters and different. Somebody might be fighting on one planet, and you can read that, and that's like $3. Somebody might be fighting on another planet at the exact same time, but it's obviously a whole different perspective, and that one is like $3. So I read books that happen like kind of in chronological order that led up to the Earth itself. They call it Terra. Earth, the siege of Terra. Earth itself is being attacked from the atmosphere, and I read all of the Siege of Terra books. And this is the very end. The last thing that happens in the Horus Heresy is the Siege of Terra, and this is going to be this is part 1 of the final book in the siege. So everything big and crazy is going to happen here, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting, I think.
Also, the art on that is awesome. I don't know how well you guys can see that.
I like the colors on it.
Yeah, it looks real good, and I think
there's some art in it.
Scrolling, yeah, like right here. Oop. Right here, there's some art, a little bit. I'm not going to get too much into all that, but basically, it's very exciting. And I've been looking forward to it greatly.
Yeah. Also speaking about stuff this week, I didn't want to talk too much about it last week, because some of it's kind of gross, but we've been doing like head and neck dissections in my anatomy lab, and so this week we were able to take the brain out, and so I was able to hold a brain in my hands, which is a very interesting experience. And I was telling Mike, I feel like I must be part of a very small percentage of people that have held a brain in their hands, or human brain in their hands, which is probably like med students and doctors and maybe some serial killers if they take the brain out. And I don't know, maybe if you were like in an undergraduate anatomy lab that was particularly good, maybe you got to do that.
Maybe.
But yeah.
When I was...
Small group of people, I think.
Yes. When I was a kid, my grandmother, my father's mother, was working at a hospital, and it was like take your kid to work day, which I don't even know if they still do, but I went with her to take your kid to work day, and
That's
they had
so
this
cool.
special event going on, and they basically one step removed from took us into the morgue, and it was just like 10 kids sitting around a table and a bunch of organs sitting on the table in front of us, and I had a brain right here like I was gonna eat it, and there was like lungs and smokers' lungs and hearts and stuff on the table, and so yes, I didn't touch the brain, but it was right here.
It was right there. Yeah. It's kind of crazy to see a brain, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really crazy to actually hold it in your hands. You're like, wow, this was someone's whole life, basically. Right?
Yeah.
Think about the like memories that are in there. Well,
Were in there.
Were in there. But also, that's actually a really good thing that made me think of. Because in TV shows and stuff as a kid, like they always talk about take your kid to work day. I thought it was like, I know some places do it, but like to me, neither of my parents' works ever had a take your kid to work day. So I was like, did people lie to me about this being a thing? But I know they didn't, because I had a friend who's, I think her mom had a take your kid to work day and they were able to go. So I was like always so upset. I was like, Mom, I want to go. My mom was a nurse. I mean, she's still a nurse, but she does that more education side of it. But she was like a cancer nurse when all my time growing up. And I was like, I want to go, which I mean, like, to be fair, like, probably don't bring kids into the cancer, like, treatment ward, the infusion center. So, like, I get why they, like, I get why there wasn't a take your kid to work day for
PSA,
that.
don't bring your kids into the cancer center.
But I really, really wanted there to be, because I loved hospitals growing up. I always wanted to be there. Sometimes my dad would bring my mom to work, so he'd go pick her up. Like, my parents had their own cars, but sometimes, you know, like, if it has to be fixed, or maybe you just don't want to drive that day, like, my dad would bring her in, and then he'd go pick her up. So I'd be like, Dad, please, let me go to pick her up with you. And because then I'd get to, like, go in the hospital, and we'd go up to the floor that she worked on, and we'd get into the infusion center area, and, like, usually, you know, it's when she's getting out of work, so no one's really there. None of the patients are there anyways. But I loved it there. And it was to the point where, like, okay, this is maybe, like, I don't know, I don't know. I don't want to, like, self-diagnose or anything, but I think this is probably weird to most people, but when one of us had to go to, like, the emergency room, I was excited, because I loved the hospital so much. Which is, like, really dark. Like, my Nana would, like, maybe have to go to or even I had to, and I was like, hospital.
Terrible.
Also, partially because when I was young, the hospital she worked at had a Dunkin' Donuts in it, but the Dunkin' Donuts sold, like, hot dogs.
What?
And they
Ew.
It was the red hot dogs, the main red hot dogs.
Of course it was.
And
Welcome to
I
Maine.
was like, let's go, and I would get so excited. So like there was a lot. So I don't know.
It's like an eldritch entity. Did you know that in a hospital in rural Maine, there's a Dunkin' Donuts within the building, and this
so
Dunkin' Donuts sells hot dogs. Unique, I know, but there's something sinister about these hot dogs. They're blood red.
That's so good. But also, guess what? They got rid of the Dunkin' and they replaced it with some weird, like, I don't know, hospital brand, like healthy. Because I guess the Dunkin' wasn't healthy enough for the hospital.
Probably not.
So I was devastated. I was like, are you kidding me? Oh my god. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that might be weird. I think I mentioned that in some of my stuff for, like, my med school applications because I'm like, I don't know, I just really like hospitals, man. Like, even to this day, I get excited going to a hospital. So that just meant you saying that your grandmother, who worked in a hospital, right?
Yes.
What the heck? But I guess maybe because it wasn't the cancer center, maybe, like, other areas.
I don't remember exactly what she did, what her job was, but she did work in one.
But I'm so jealous. And basically it ended up being a thing that my mom was like, oh, well, they let kids volunteer at the hospital, and I was like, fine, I'll do that. Anything to get in there. But you had to be like 14, I think, to do that. So I had to wait till I got into high school. And then I did do it. It was during the summers. It was like a junior volunteer program. And that was pretty good. And during like one of the orientations for that, it was like we had to do like a week-long orientation.
Wow.
Other places did not do that. So I don't know why they were making us do a week-long orientation. But whatever. Anyways, part of it, we went into, like, I think the pathology lab, so they had all the samples and stuff, where it's like, oh, there's a kidney stone in a jar or something like that, you know, that sort of stuff, like what you're talking about, I think, where there's organs in jars and things.
They weren't even in jars. They were just, like,
out. Just out. Well, I think maybe they probably took them out for you guys like that, but these were just, like, all the patient samples and things, and there's just, like, a placenta in a jar.
Somebody should have eaten that. That's the thing people do.
Yeah. I don't know that I would do that.
Gotta recycle your nutrients.
Supposedly, well, I don't know. I don't know if it being good for you, if there's any, like, actual evidence to that, but I mean, I'm sure it is full of nutrients.
Yeah.
Because it helps.
Let's not talk about that too much.
Yeah, we're good.
I have a story about recycling nutrients, but I don't think it's appropriate, so...
No, probably not for the breakfast show.
Definitely not.
We've already gone too far.
Yeah, we have to reel that one back in. My turn again?
Yeah.
NASA is going back to the moon in 2024. Finally. I am so tired of not being a spacefaring civilization. We need to ascend.
We need to.
The coming empire will feature space travel.
This is why he wants to go to space.
That's not even why. I've always loved space, but when I was but a wee lad, a little boy, my bedroom was space themed. I had a little rocket ship lamp. I had a blanket with rockets and stars and little planets and stuff on it. I've always loved space and space travel. It's very interesting to me. I wanted to be an astronaut for a little while. Found out recently that I'm too tall.
That is very sad.
It's very heartbreaking. And it's not necessarily that I'm too tall specifically, but there's very strict like weight limits for space. And they're like, all right, so if you are this height, which I am, you gotta weigh like $180. And I'm like, I'm not getting down to
Well, you're also like at the top of the height.
Yeah, I'm like at the top of the height chart, and then I would need to be
way skinnier.
Like
probably not even super healthy skinny.
Right, most people could do to lose 10 pounds or something like that. But even if I was in like peak physical shape, I would not be as skinny as they want me to be. It just like I would have to be malnourished to be that skinny.
Yeah, at least for like you. Like some people are like pretty lanky naturally and tall, but we talk about this sometimes. Like you don't necessarily look like you're as tall as you are because you're more like well proportioned.
Yeah, I'm like broader than a lot of tall guys are. And you know, there's guys who are broader than me and more muscular than me and all that stuff. But the body type I would need to be skinny enough to be my height and get on a space shuttle is not feasible.
Yeah.
So no space travel for me, at least not right now.
but still pretty cool that we're going to the moon.
Space travel for NASA, good. That was one thing that old Donnie J did good while he was in office. It was like one of the, like, you know how the president will do things and you're like, oh, don't care, don't like that, that's okay, I guess. One thing that had me going, yes, was Donald Trump put like a bunch of money, or like restarted like government funding to NASA, basically. Like for under Obama, we basically weren't doing anything with NASA, but Trump shot a bunch of money into it, and it was like, it's like how people made fun of him for doing the Space Force thing.
It was kind of silly.
It is a little silly, but that's because think about our military budget. How much money we as a country put into our military by creating the Space Force. You are now taking from that military budget and putting it into space, which is a good thing. I want to explore space. I want to see what's out there. I want to go to Mars. All that stuff. I'm not saying I'm not Elon Musk. We're going to build things on Mars, and I'm going to use Dogecoin at all my Tesla factories there. Like, we're not doing that.
There was something about him in Dogecoin recently. Like, he's kind of getting in trouble for it, I think.
I have no idea, but I do know. I don't use Twitter. I don't have a Twitter. I think I actually made a Twitter years ago because I needed it for some verification or something, but I don't use Twitter. I don't have the app or anything like that. But yeah, they had the Doge as the Twitter icon for a few days. A friend of mine sent me a Twitter link, and it had the Doge as the icon.
Yeah, but no, there's a $258 billion racketeering lawsuit accusing Elon Musk of running a pyramid scheme to support Dogecoin.
What the heck?
You'll not believe how much the Elon Musk bros, like, really just...
They stand him in all his decisions.
They like kiss his feet kind of stuff. Like,
he can do no wrong in their eyes.
Yeah, like they were saying like, oh, they're talking about like PayPal and stuff like that. He like bought he bought them out, I think, really early. Like he had nothing to do with actually making PayPal. But these people like don't actually look into his history. He is very commonly that there's like a startup happening and then he buys it out, and then he like will write into when he buys it out that like you have to put me on like one of the, like, I think that's what the Tesla thing is, or there's some big company that he's a part of. I think it was Tesla that like it was already a thing and he bought it, and in the contract it was like, I'm gonna be on the name of like starting it, but he didn't actually.
Yeah, it's Elon Musk is developing a reputation which I believe is mostly earned for kind of being like king of the pump and dump on these type of things, like Tesla, the Boring Company, Dogecoin, SpaceX. He's the guy that comes in and says all these fanciful things, and you know, we're gonna Dogecoin to the moon, SpaceX is going to Mars, we're gonna colonize, we're gonna have crypto, Tesla's gonna replace gas vehicles, and you're like, okay, well, I would like to go back to space. I just said I'd like to go back to space and expand humanity like across the stars and stuff like that. So going to Mars is a great idea. I'd love to do that. But then it just doesn't happen, right? Electric vehicles, fighting against pollution and reducing our reliance on fossil fuels sounds great. Tesla has, that is one thing. Whether Tesla is profitable or good or not, and the cars are good or not, the electric vehicle market has grown substantially, and I will say that Tesla is like, maybe they're not the guy, but them existing has forced people like Ford to get more into that market. So that one might be a good thing. The Boring Company, he wanted to put like underground rail systems throughout the country. How's that working out? Pro tip, it's not. So just a lot of these things he'll like start, and then when they're not profitable anymore, he either pulls out or just stops entirely, which is kind of a pain. But anyway, yeah, 2024, NASA, going to the moon. I'm very excited about it. This could be a new period of space travel for the human race, which is very exciting for me.
That's pretty cool.
Yes.
Another thing I think that happened this week, I guess maybe it happened last week, but I'm pretty sure it was this week. Or at least I've been listening to it this week. Melanie Martinez released a new album called Portals. It's very good, or at least I like it. I think one of her last albums, she basically I think Beyonce's Lemonade is this, where it's like the album is almost like a whole music video. Like the whole album has a music video they do. You know, some artists will do that. No? Okay. Well, anyways, they make it, it's like a movie almost, but with just the songs. So it's like a really long music video.
Well, it's not uncommon for artists to have all of their songs, like, tell a story together. Like, the whole album is one story and the songs are parts of it.
Yeah, but they don't always, like, make an actual, like, piece of film for it, you know what I mean? Or, like, it is, at the end of the day, kind of just a music video, but, like, a really long one for the whole album. And I assume Portals is going to be like that because there's a lot of sounds in the background that, like, I think at the end of, oh, I don't know which one it is, one of the songs, one of my favorite songs, at the end of it you can hear it sounds like people like talking at like a party, like a fancy dinner party or something, and then it sounds like maybe the doors open and she walks in. Like, I can only assume that she's going to have a whole video of the whole album and it's all going to like tell a story together, because she also, I think, did that with her last album. And just based on the sounds in some of these sounds in some of the songs, it sounds like it might be made for like a whole video thing. Which, if that happens, I'm excited, but right now there's only a music video out for, I think, the first song on the album, so I don't know if that's actually true, but I would be very shocked based on, again, like the background sounds and like the sounds at the end of the songs, that they like all kind of tie in, or there's sounds like there's like a whole scene in there. So yeah, but it was good. My top 3 songs off the album, if you would like to listen to any of them, I would say, or maybe top 4, I don't know. Battle of the Larynx. I like that one a lot. Evil and Tunnel Vision. I really like those ones, but Death is really good too. That's the first song of the album. And yeah, those are like my favorites from it, but I'm not saying the other songs aren't good. There's a lot of good songs on the album, but those are my favorites. And then there's one that I like, but it has like bone cracking sounds in the background, so I'm not like I wouldn't add it to my like songs because of that, because I'm like, oh, can we do a little less of this? I get it, but yeah. But it's a pretty good album. I would recommend it.
Nice. Metallica has a new album coming out. I believe it's just a collection of singles right now. There's like 3 or 4 of them. 4 of them. I believe the album is going to be called 72 Seasons. It's pretty good. I listened to the 4 singles they have out now. I think my favorite one is If Darkness Had a Sun. That one's pretty good. And then I believe In Flames has a new album coming out soon. But I don't know how many metal fans we got in the Real Breakfast Hours. Oh yeah, they did release an album this year already. Foregone. It was pretty good.
Nice.
But yeah, give the new Metallica album a try.
And Portals. And also, this is the other thing, is like her look for this new album is very weird. Like if you look up pictures, it's some weird like fairy nymph thing with multiple eyes.
Very on brand for Melanie Martinez. Yeah. She has a cultivated appearance, like the type of girls who listen to her music. They are a certain crowd, which is fine. That's like, it's good to have a base, right? Hers is very much a thing.
Yeah, but it is a pretty. She had like the crybaby aesthetic and all that stuff. This is very yeah. She had like, before it was crybaby and then like K through 12. Which is also seems to fit with Crybaby, right? Where it's like kind of this weird Lolita thing a little bit, which is like, oh, scandalous.
It's like you're an adult, but you're a crybaby.
Yeah. Which K through 12 is the one that is like whole, like the whole album is like a music video. I don't know what the term for that is. I'm sure there's a name for it. But yeah, Portal sounds like it's gonna be that. But K through 12 came out in 2019, so it's been a few years, and now Portals is out.
Crybaby was 2015. I guess that makes sense because I would have heard music from that album in high school. God. Which, yeah, I graduated in 2016, so it makes sense. Yeah. Also, I did not mean to mention the In Flames one. The one I was looking for was there's a new Avenged Sevenfold album coming out. I knew it was another metal band, but I couldn't remember what it was. I was like, I think In Flames has one, but it wasn't them. Avenged Sevenfold has released a single called Nobody, which is going to be on whatever their new album is titled. I don't think it has a name yet. It might just be Nobody. But M Shadows, their vocalist, their singer, their frontman, he hasn't put out. They haven't put out an album in a couple of years since 2020, I think. Actually, no. That 2020 album is a remaster of one of their older ones. So I think their most recent one is actually The Stage from 2016, which 7 years is a long, 7 years is a long time to kind of be flying under the radar there. That's because they're a metal band, or punk is probably the closest thing. I would call them punk, but I believe he hurt his vocal cords on their last album, and he had to get surgery. And obviously, if a singer gets vocal cord surgery, they're going to sound different. And he does sound different on this single. It sounds like he's restrained on this new song, which again makes sense. And it's still a good song, but it's like definitely a different sound than what I'm used to for them. So I'm interested to see if this new album will be any good.
This is interesting. So, if you go on to Melanie Martinez's YouTube video or YouTube channel, all the old videos from her other albums, the ones that are like music videos for old album songs or just like teasers for things, so you can pick like the thumbnail for your video. They changed the thumbnail of all of them to a picture that says "Rip Crybaby," and I think that's why the first song on the new album is called "Death."
Maybe.
The album is also very interesting. The first song on it is called "Death," and it talks about like being back from the dead and stuff. And then the last song is called "Womb," and it's about like birth, obviously.
Maybe she's the crybaby persona is dead, and she's being born into a new vibe.
Oh yeah, see K-12 the film, but like
it's an hour and a half.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm talking about. Where like, but it sounds like this Portals might have a similar thing. But also, there's 3 songs on here that are not on the album, but they're like still have the picture of Portals. So I wonder if those are like ones that didn't make it. You know, sometimes artists have songs that they don't put on the album because maybe they thought it didn't fit quite as good as they wanted to. But they're like just these extra songs. But I wonder if they're on Spotify or if they aren't released on Spotify.
Maybe they'll be on the deluxe edition that comes out next year.
Yeah, maybe. Because Pluto, Powder, and Milk of the Siren. I'll have to listen to those later. Anyways, that was my thing.
Yeah, I kind of jumped in there a little bit.
It's okay.
My last thing that I want to talk about is just a little brief sports element.
I thought we'd get away.
You thought you'd escape. Well, fun fact: the hockey or the NHL season doesn't end until June. I was never a big hockey fan, but I've been watching this season, and it kind of was mind blowing for me to realize that the Stanley Cup Finals are in the first or second week of June. That's wild to me. I had no idea. Like, when I imagine hockey, I'm like, oh, hey, a winter sport. June? That's very late for a winter sport, especially because men's hockey, the college hockey, is ending, like, now. Like, the Frozen Four, the finals, they're on, like, currently. Like, maybe today. They're probably still on. Or at least I know that the final 4 games have been on this week. So college hockey ends in April. Pro hockey ends in June. But anyway, the Bruins are on pace still to break the win record. There's like 82 or 87 games in a season for hockey, and it's like always been that way. Whereas something like football, they play 17 games, something like that now. Every year, and in years past it was less than that. Like there was 12 and then 15 and now 17. I don't know if those numbers are exact, but that's basically what it was. So somebody who won 12 games, he had a perfect season in 1960. That was 12 games in a year. So you might break the all-time win record in 2024 because you have 14 wins. Yeah, well, somebody in the 60s couldn't physically have done that, so it's not really fair. Whereas hockey's always been the same. And the team with the winning record is from the 80s, and it's 62. The Bruins are currently sitting at 61, and they still have 3 more regular season games, at least. It might be 4. I think they're playing today. They might be playing now. But if they win today, then they will be tied for the record, and they just have to win one more after that, and they will break the all-time win record, and then hopefully win the whole thing. That if they win another game, 2 more games in the regular season, and then miraculously go all the way and win the Stanley Cup, they'll like pretty much solidify themselves as the best team to ever like play.
Pretty exciting.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be paying attention in these playoffs. These playoffs are going to be electric, I'm sure.
Until June.
Until June. All the way till June.
The winter sport that you're on ice goes until June.
Me, when I'm sitting on the beach in the first week of June watching hockey.
Yeah. I also have this thing where I'll start saying, a word or a phrase gets in my head, and then I won't stop using it for like a week or like a day in particular. So I think this week, or maybe it was last week, but recently I was saying like slay too much, and I think it's because of that TikTok that we saw.
TikTok.
And so then in my head I was like, slay. So slay.
It was like a 5-minute video of some girl at like the
Hunger Games
exhibit,
in Las
and
Vegas.
every 40 seconds she said slay. I was losing my mind. I was like, Michaela,
He's like,
died over
I don't
here.
want to watch this anymore. And then I started saying it. One of the clubs that I'm a part of is like Student Doctors for Health Equity or something like that. Anyways, they sent out an email this week about some things that have been in the news, and one of them I wanted to talk about was that a federal judge basically decided that insurers no longer have to provide some preventative care services, including cancer and heart screenings, at no cost. And basically, part of the Affordable Care Act, there was like mandates that came with it. I guess it said that insurance companies, like not just the like Obamacare like ones, but like, I don't know, nationwide or whatever the health care insurance companies are, they, under the mandates, had to pay, and you like make it so as the patient you don't have to pay for the service. So like breast cancer screenings, and I think like STD screenings maybe, and just different things that are very important for your health. And people will always complain, and it's true, that a lot of the healthcare in this country is reactive rather than proactive. Well, having preventative screenings and screenings for different diseases is a part of like preventative or proactive medicine, because a lot of these conditions you can treat a lot more effectively, or just like have a better quality of life if you catch it early, and so you can start treating it. And like with cancer, it's really important, because a lot of cancers, the earlier you find it, the better chance you have of getting rid of it and surviving, versus if you find it at stage 4, like there's not really much they can do, and you'll probably won't have as long of a life with it, or they might not be able to get rid of it. You know, some people come out they get in remission, they're like cured from cancer, right? But you can't. The later you find it, the less chance that you have of that happening. So these preventative screenings, or at least just the screenings, are very important. But some judge in Texas, I don't know why there's a federal judge in Texas that has been making a lot of decisions related to healthcare recently. I hate it. All the decisions that I've heard come out of this related to healthcare have been so bad in my opinion, but this one particularly is really frustrating. But yeah, it said that U.S. District Judge Reed O'Connor struck down the recommendations that have been issued by the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force. And it applies to task force recommendations issued on or after March 23rd, 2010, which is when the Affordable Care Act was signed into law. And so basically, if you start having to pay for like breast cancer screenings or other health screenings, you have that judge to thank. And also health insurance companies for being absolute leeches. Yeah, there's like not so much information yet, but also the Biden administration is appealing it too. So like hopefully this won't actually be a thing, because honestly, health insurance companies already cover so little like services, at least some of them. Like some healthcare or some health insurance is so bad. Like, you pay so much for it, but then half the time you have to pay for your healthcare services anyways, and some people are paying like thousands of dollars just to give birth in a hospital. Like, it's ridiculous. So the last thing we need is another thing that they should be covering and was covered getting taken away. So now you're gonna have to pay for that. And I think when you think about it, it all probably just comes down to money, because the more like you have to pay for stuff, then they're just getting more of your money versus them actually having to, like, what is the point of paying for health insurance if they won't cover stuff?
Yeah, I think this is primarily the Affordable Care Act, which is Obamacare, which is for people who like...
No, it's saying the Affordable Care Act had mandates. All insurance companies had to cover this stuff. That's what it's saying. The judge ruled that those other health insurance companies no longer have to cover it. Versus that act, a part of, like, yes, they made Obamacare with it, but the other part was, like, general rules for all insurance companies that they had to provide it at zero cost to the patient.
So it's not just the people who are on Obamacare, it's the people, like, you might have, real insurance, and this could still affect you.
Yeah, that's the problem, is that, because I'm sure Obamacare would still be covering it. It's the fact that these things that are outside of that, other health insurance companies no longer have to cover it. And it's not, like, they're already so predatory and barely cover stuff anyways. It's like, why are we taking away that stuff? I'm just trying to see if there's anything else in here about it. It says that the Thursday ruling is expected to kick off a new phase of the legal battle over Obamacare's preventive care measures. The judge rejected other claims that the ACA's foes brought against the law, including challenges to the entities that determine no-cost coverage mandates for vaccines, an assortment of women's health preventive care treatments and services for infants and children. It's possible that the plaintiffs appeal those aspects of O'Connor's handling of the case, which could put at risk coverage requirements for additional preventive services at no cost. So, yeah, so, like, stuff like the vaccines, I guess, is not being affected by this, but those people who were, I guess, the plaintiffs who wanted to make it, which I assume is insurance companies, wanted to make it elite, or take away those mandates or whatever, he said no to those, which is good, but really all this preventive healthcare stuff should be, I think, accessible to everyone.
Yeah, like the insurance companies, we assume it's insurance companies. I don't know why an individual would do something like this, but an insurance company would want you to have to pay for vaccines and stuff, but I guess this guy said no, those would still be covered. However, he's allowing them to charge you extra for if you already have, like, cancer or some long-term illness, like a pre-existing condition, that they could still charge you extra for being an at-risk individual, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. And I guess, okay, it sounds like the women and children stuff is still intact, so actually mammograms are still a thing. So I guess less breast cancer, but like lung cancer and colorectal cancer, because this is what it was saying, is that some of the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force's recommendations, including lung and skin cancer screenings, and the use of statins to prevent cardiovascular disease, and offer of PrEP for those at high risk of HIV, which, like, makes it so you won't get HIV, which is really huge. Those were issued after the ACA, and I think those are what are, like, being under the law. It would be that the health insurance companies don't have to provide that to you at zero cost to the patient. Which, I mean, lung cancer and skin cancer is the most common cancer in the United States, actually. Mm-hmm. So those are huge. Those are going to have huge ramifications for people. And, like, lots of people smoke. So a lot of people are at risk of lung cancer. Not
to mention the currently unknown effects of vaping.
Those, and, like, smoking anything, yes, this includes cannabis, puts you at risk of lung cancer and damage to your lungs, and the vaping does it, because your lungs are just not meant to be having that stuff.
You know what we learned about recently? Third-hand smoke.
Mm-hmm.
You are, obviously, if you're smoking a cigarette, that's like first-hand smoke, and everyone's heard about second-hand smoke, which is if I'm smoking a cigarette and I'm, like, breathing it out, blowing it near her, she's inhaling that's second-hand smoke, which can even be more dangerous.
Because you're not getting the filter.
Right, because the cigarette has a filter. but the hair that comes back out does not. So that's actually, she's potentially at greater risk than I am. However, if I'm smoking in the house, you ever been at somebody's house or in their car and like the car smells like smoke? That's third-hand smoke. You're inhaling residual tobacco and other products that are in the cigarette because they're literally getting sucked in by the walls in your house. If you've ever been to somebody's house, usually an older person, somebody from like the 70s, one of the older homes, their wallpaper or their white paint turns yellow from all the smoke and stuff that they've absorbed. You just breathing in the air in that home increases your risk of lung cancer, and that is third-hand smoke.
Yeah. And actually, nicotine, so we know like the bad effects of tobacco in general, and like smoking, but even vaping has bad effects because, so smoking, anything that has nicotine in it, and yes, this includes your vape pens that have nicotine, which is what is the addictive component of tobacco and stuff like that, it literally makes you insulin resistant, or it increases your chance of becoming insulin resistant.
Enjoy your
and
diabetes.
It's not you can get diabetes from vaping, and it is not the tobacco, it is the nicotine, because of the way the nicotine acts on the like insulin receptors. I think I learned that last week we've been learning about diabetes and obesity. That is something that I learned about, and even the third-hand smoke can put you at risk for increased insulin resistance.
A man was murdered recently because he was at like McDonald's or something, and he had his daughter, I believe, with him, like a young child, and there was a second man who was vaping, like, right next to them, and the first guy says, "Hey, can you not, like, vape in front of my daughter? Like, I don't want her inhaling that stuff." And the guy who was vaping killed him.
Oh my god.
You can look that up if you want to know what, like, state or whatever that was in. I could pull it up on my phone real quick. But,
Yeah.
This is real. That's a real thing that happens, or that has happened. Vaping.
And it's pretty, like, huge, because I think a lot of people, if they're doing marijuana or just vaping, they think they're immune to, like, some of the bad health effects. And some of them you might be, but at the end of the day, like, the effect that smoke or vaping, vapors, whatever, has on your lungs. I mean, there's lots of stories from people who work in emergency rooms and like critical care, that they'll never vape, or like they'll never let their kids vape, because kids that vape, like teenagers, will come in and like their lungs are at such a low capacity or like a functioning because of the fact that they vape.
I found it. It happened in Vancouver.
Canada.
Yeah. A man, his fiance, and their toddler daughter went into a Starbucks, where a second man allegedly was asked to stop vaping, and retaliated by killing him.
Jeez.
And he's being charged with second-degree murder.
So, I mean, do what you want when not killing people. Don't do that part. But just know you have an impact on the people around you, and also on your own health. I mean, I know that seldom works on people. People will still do what they want, but like at least maybe think about the people around you, and like especially kids. Like, don't vape around kids. That's awful. A lot of this stuff is even worse when it comes to kids because they're still developing. So you're creating these harmful effects while they're still growing and their lungs are still developing and stuff. Because yeah, kids' lungs don't stop developing until like age 6 or 8 or something.
It's also crazy how unhinged some people are about, like, don't tell me what to do, or don't involve yourself in my business. People get wacky when you tell them, hey, can you not do that? Like a simple, hey, can you turn your music down? To somebody who's like blasting music on the train or something like that. Some people will just attack you for telling them to do things. Like, don't tell me what to do. You're like, pal, you're being a public nuisance. Can you tone it down? And I understand that, like, vaping doesn't make you a public nuisance, but no amount of telling somebody to stop vaping warrants being killed.
Right.
So,
and it's like, people are real bold. People will do things and have no regard for the people around them. Like, you're not the only person living here or working here. If you're in a public space, can you not be the most annoying person there by being really loud or smoking or vaping in a spot that's like not meant for that sort of stuff? Or back when we went on our trip, our cruise in May, our flight back got delayed, so I literally had to spend overnight in an airport, and there was this couple that was playing, like, I think Game of Thrones or something, out loud on, like, they did not have headphones in, they just had it playing on their iPad, and were not using headphones. Like, I cannot tell you how much do not do that. Holy cow, how selfish and entitled do you have to be in a public space, first of all, where it's like late at night and everyone's stuck here because our flight got delayed, and you think you need to watch Game of Thrones, so you're not gonna use headphones? Like, I know you're sharing it, but like, do you what were you doing on the plane? I know you must have a pair of headphones, so just like split it. Okay, yeah, maybe I'm not as immersed because I don't have both headphones in. No one else wants to hear what you're watching.
There was a video I saw recently from, I assume he's like a prank YouTube channel or something, and he's a Japanese American, so he like is American, but he's like physically Japanese, and he was in Japan, and he was playing his music really loudly on his like iPod in one hand and his phone, like recording himself like this, like on the train in Japan. And I don't know how much you know about Japanese culture, but no, don't do that. Right? They're a very conservative culture. So, like, everybody in the train is, like, staring at this guy. And the guy to his left is, like taps him on his shoulder to try to, like, get his attention. He ignores him. Taps him again. He ignores him. The dude on the other side reaches over and, like, tries to mute his phone. The guy, like, attacks him. He's like, don't touch me, man. He, like...
Jeez.
And then they start, like, talking to him in Japanese because he's in Japan and he is physically Japanese, so they just assume he speaks Japanese. He's like, don't talk Japanese to me, speak English, and, like, antagonizing these people, still blasting his music. And this goes on for, like, 5 minutes until eventually he's like, oh, you guys just had to ask. Like, you know, I don't know why you're coming at me like this. Like, no, bro, they tried to ask you. You're intentionally causing a disturbance right now. Mike Tyson has a quote, I think he said it a couple of years ago, where he said, social media has made people too comfortable behaving poorly and not getting punched in the face. Because he was on, I believe it was a plane, it might have been a bus, it might have been a train, but I believe it was a plane. Mike Tyson, Iron Mike himself, is on an airplane, and some guy is like belligerently drunk and doing all this, like, to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson repeatedly asked this guy to cut it out. He doesn't, and eventually, pow, Mike Tyson knocked this dude out right on the plane. What did you think was going to happen? I know you're, like, drinking or whatever, but come on, bro.
Yeah, that's... I think social media and now, like, the combination of quarantine, like, people just have no social etiquette.
Yeah.
And, like, regard for other people around them. I mean, all the, like, Karen stuff and people doing, like, pranks or, like, being obnoxious out in public. I just don't know, like, what goes through your mind? Obviously nothing, because it's just incredible. It's like, those are other people that you're interacting with. Maybe try being less annoying or just plain rude to people.
Yeah, and I know that there's, like, you know, assault and stuff like that, but back in the day, people would just get, like, hit for behaving a certain way, and that would prevent them from doing those things. Like, oh, I shouldn't do this because somebody will probably punch me. Now you'll get arrested. If somebody comes up to you and they, like are holding their phone like this in front of you, blasting music, if you just, like, punch that guy, you're going to get arrested.
Yeah.
Whereas that wouldn't have happened before.
So...
What a world.
What a world.
What a time to be alive.
Maybe someday we will get some more normal people. I don't know.
Who knows? Anyway, I think that probably does it.
That's about it for Real Breakfast Hours number 11.
Number 11.
Send us your...
There you go.
Send us your breakfast.
Next time's going to be this.
Yeah. Send us your breakfast. Let us know what you thought. If you have questions, comments, comment down below. Send it to us directly on my Instagram. Subscribe.
Please subscribe. Hit that bell.
Hit that bell. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers. You know how badly I want to just send it out to my class, but I don't want to be annoying?
You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. I'd be like, oh, guys, subscribe to my YouTube channel.
I thought about that when I was getting my haircut earlier today. I was like, would it be hilarious if I had, like, Real Breakfast Hours business cards? I could just leave one.
Yeah. We kind of should.
That would be sick. Now that's marketing.
No, that's marketing. I know. I'll start getting, like, I should try and make stickers, and I could put it on my laptop, and then people will be like,
yes, laptop is fine. I'm not a person who puts stickers on their stuff, but like I don't like bumper stickers. I hate them. I get mad almost when I'm driving behind somebody who's got like an assortment of bumper stickers. I saw somebody who, I don't care what your political affiliations are, but this person had like 9 Biden stickers, and they had like 3, Biden 2020 stickers, and then they had like 3 more Biden 2024 stickers. And I was like, geez, man, wouldn't one be enough?
Yeah. People
Not
would
for this
just like put them, and sometimes it's really funny. There's this lady that I think I've seen twice now when I'm driving that has like conflicting bumper stickers. Like there's one that's like, I don't know, basically like facts don't care about your feelings or something like that. I think it's like your feelings shouldn't be in the way of my rights, or I don't know, something probably about like guns or something. I don't know, some feelings thing. And then the other one is like, be kind to everyone. I'm like, oh, but we don't care about my feelings, but also be kind to everyone. I'm like, I feel like there's some cognitive dissonance going on here.
I love using the facts don't care about your feelings on her. Sometimes she'll be like, I'm not feeling good today. I don't feel smart. And I'm like, facts don't care about your feelings. You're very smart.
Yeah, so you can say that, but only if you're using it to boost someone else's
Use your powers
confidence.
for good.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, sorry, that was a little side tangent again.
thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in, and yeah, let us know what you think about some of the stuff we talked about earlier, like different vlogs and things like that.
And send us your breakfast.
Send us your breakfast. And thanks for...
Talking to you, Grandma. Send us your breakfast.
Oh, jeez. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
All I do is bits.
So true, bestie.
I stay saying so true more than I should.
I don't know. Am I autistic? A little bit.